It's Valentine's Day 2014, the day I announced the recipients of my 12th annual Dr. Fun's Stupid Cupid and Realistic Romance Awards for the past year's worst and best portrayals of sex, love, and romance in movies, TV shows, songs, and magazines. This short video gives you a little preview. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Mary Lou Galician, also known as the original Dr. Fun. I'm a media literacy advocate and author and the creator of Realistic Romance, the thinking person's relationship remedy. My mission? To bust media myths and stereotypes of sex, love, and romance that might seem appealing, but can actually ruin your chances for great real-life relationships. As a professor at Arizona State University's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication here in Phoenix, I've taught thousands of students how to use the media instead of having the media use them, and how to get real about romance, as I have for countless men and women around the world through my media literacy presentations, books, and website, realisticromance.com. And today, I want to empower you. Bit of background first. I created Realistic Romance because I want you to know what I've learned from my scholarly research and from my own life experience. Believe me, you can enjoy a happily ever after that's far more thrilling, fulfilling, and fabulous than seemingly exciting media fantasies that are really pretty foolish and even dangerous, as you can see when you analyze them using the core skill of media literacy, and that's critical thinking. Now remember, I am Dr. Fun, so don't worry. Media literacy is not about bashing or censoring or avoiding the media. It's okay to enjoy these portrayals, well, some of them, but just make sure you're aware of the kinds of ideas and models they promote, because we do adopt many of them, whether we realize it or not. That's why the purpose of my annual awards is to focus attention on media myths and stereotypes that can really hurt you, and on those rare media examples with smarter relational strategies for thinking persons like you. Here's how my annual awards work. I give my Stupid Cupids to portrayals that promote unhealthy and harmful myths and stereotypes of sex, love, and romance, and I confer my Realistic Romance Awards on portrayals that offer good models for successful relationships. There's a separate Stupid Cupid Award for each of the 12 myths and stereotypes of my Dr. Fun's Mass Media Love Quiz. And the portrayal with the most myths and stereotypes gets my overall Stupidest Cupid Award. You know, if you haven't taken my quiz, you might want to do that now to better understand the awards. It's free at realisticromance.com. And as you'll see, each of the 12 myths and stereotypes of my quiz has a corresponding Dr. Galician's prescription that's an antidote to one of those myths. In other words, each prescription is a healthy and useful relational strategy of sex, love, and romance that serves you far better than myths and stereotypes. And there's an award for each one. The portrayal with the most prescriptions gets my overall Realistic Romance Grand Prize. Of course, like all media storytelling, even these healthier portrayals usually present some myths and stereotypes. And Stupid Cupids sometimes demonstrate a Dr. Galician prescription. But in making the awards, I look at the portrayal's dominant messages. On my website, you can see the complete listing of all 26 of the annual awards for this Valentine's Day with citations that explain the reason each recipient got its award. But in this little preview, I want to tell you about the two overall awards, the Stupidest Cupid and the Realistic Romance Grand Prize. Two very different 2013 films, but they each focus on self-preservation in a dangerous environment and its impact on romantic relationships. And even though they both include elements of fantasy, comparing them invites our critical thinking about how these portrayals impact our own real-life beliefs and behaviors. By the way, my Realistic Romance Awards are not based on dramatic realism or naturalism. The criterion is that a portrayal emphasizes healthy relationship strategies, as summarized by my 12 Dr. Galician's prescriptions. Realistic means rational, sex, love, and romance that balances feeling and thinking. And realistic doesn't mean dreary or settling for less. In fact, the prescriptions encourage you to raise your standards. One final point. The basis for my Stupid Cupid and Realistic Romance Awards is not artistic merit, though it is part of my general descriptions of these media portrayals. So now, first, the recipient of my 12th annual Stupidest Cupid Award, It's the film that was released on Valentine's Day 2013, Safe Haven. The title refers to the small, photogenic seaside town where a so-called mysterious woman with a secret, a fake name, and a gorgeous body has come looking for work and privacy. The woman is played by Julianne Hough, and the secret she's hiding from her new community is one the audience knows from the start. She's on the run from her abusive husband. Now, it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel to discuss the problems with this film, based on a Nicholas Sparks book, and nearly every critic has already done that. But its impressionable audience liked it. Despite its absolutely absurd plot twists, it's incredibly predictable. The despicably abusive ex-husband is presented as a villain who'd be right at home twirling his mustaches in a 19th century melodrama, and sadly, that diminishes the seriousness of this very serious and very real issue of spousal abuse. Of course, when this victim arrives in her new town and alights from the bus she's been riding all night long after running and running and running in the rain, of course she's as neat and clean, as gorgeous as can be, and even the hair she'd hastily chopped up and colored the night before as a disguise is perfectly arranged. That's myth number 5, a leading lady must look like a model or centerfold. Well, within moments of her arrival, she gets a job at the local cafe despite her lack of experience and her suspicious behavior, and a handsome and kindly store owner, Josh Duhamel, a father of 2 little ones whose wife died of cancer a few years ago. This is Nicholas Sparks, remember, falls instantly in love with her. That's my myth number 2. She's slow to allow him into her life, but once she does, she's quick to allow him into her bed, where they discover, because of their fabulous sex, they're meant to be. That's myth number 4. Please understand, it's certainly commendable that the heroine finally made her escape, although she did stay with her husband until he practically killed her. But there are better exit and recovery strategies than those presented here, as even the movie bears out, because the crazed husband rather easily does find her and nearly burns down the whole picturesque town, while also nearly killing the hero's little girl. But our tall, strong, courageous hero does indeed rescue his daughter and his damsel in distress, that's myth number 6, while the villain is conveniently disposed of, literally. And it turns out, can you believe it, that the equally mysterious local woman who had immediately befriended the heroine is actually the hero's dead wife, or should we say ghost thereof, and she graciously gives her blessing to the new couple who are thereby apparently cosmically predestined, myth number 1. I did mention this is Nicholas Sparks. Now, please don't get me wrong. I enjoy an emotional ride and a moving theme, but I much prefer it as demonstrated by my 12th annual Realistic Romance Grand Prize winner, which provides healthier role models and a far better story. And it's ironic, because in this film's dystopian future world, there's no idealized small town safe haven to which to escape from violence, although there is fire and fantasy. Okay, you probably guessed it. It's the second installment of the Hunger Games trilogy, Catching Fire. Now, as those of you who follow my annual awards know, the Realistic Romance Grand Prize winner is frequently an independent film, or a little song, or a small TV show that doesn't follow the typical Hollywood formula and might have a smaller audience. So I'm thrilled that this year is an exception, because Hunger Games Catching Fire, a personal favorite of mine, I am a fan of the books and the films, is also the #1 box office hit of 2013. That means lots of people, including many young media consumers, experienced its healthier role models of sex, love, and romance. And you probably know the story. A strong and caring young woman, Katniss Everdeen, played by Academy Award winner Jennifer Lawrence, is forced to participate in national last person standing alive games. In the first installment, she not only wins, but also manages to enable her local partner, Peeta Mellark, to survive with her. Now, in this second film, their victory tour suddenly leads to a second games into which they're both forced by a nasty but powerful villain, the nation's president, who fears Katniss's courage, charisma, and revolutionary spirit. In this film, which is quite faithful to the book, you see nearly all my prescriptions. Katniss has two boyfriends, Peeta and Gale, who are her longtime good friends. And she's upfront and honest with them about not being ready for a serious relationship. That's prescriptions 1 and 2. The talented star is not your typical Hollywood leading lady, that's prescription 5, though she is very attractive, I think, and rather than the me, Tarzan, you, Jane stereotypes that hurt men as well as women, this story's heroine teams with strong males who appreciate a romantic interest who shares power as a peer, prescription 6. So it's no wonder that for the most part, she and her two boyfriends avoid bickering and fighting because they share values, prescriptions 8 and 9. And they work together for the common good and for a peaceful life. Now, as a side note about the graphic violence, which includes the murder of children by children in the survival games, the author of the Hunger Games trilogy, which was initially targeted to so-called young adult readers, has explained that her goal is to show the consequences of violence rather than to glorify it. Thus, her heroine does not rejoice when rivals die. And there's so much more. So I hope you'll visit realisticromance.com to see all the movies, TV shows, songs, and magazines that got my 12th annual awards. There are 24 individual categories. And to discover which are the best and worst in terms of relational strategies for real-life romance. I also hope you'll nominate your 2014 choices for next year's Valentine's Day Awards. Ballots will be on my website in November. Most of all, I hope you'll get real about romance by applying critical thinking to your media usage. And please don't forget to tell your friends and loved ones about the importance of being media literate in our 24/7 media world. I'm Dr. Mary Lou Galician, the original Dr. Fun, wishing you realistic romance on Valentine's Day and every day.